Justice Warriors, what up? It is Friday. It's the 20th of December. It's the last day of fall, believe it or not. Winter has not even started yet. I think it starts tomorrow, 21st, right? So lovely to see that I'm all alone because you know how much I love my solitude. But I do come on live to break up that solitude with my viewers. And so we'll see if people start to come in. In the meantime, I'll just go ahead and go through my regular old stuff. I always want to make sure that I don't make loud noises by bonking things and that my sound is working, that everything is turned on. Please hit your like button if you'd be so kind. Make sure that you're still subscribed if you are subscribed, and if you're not, please consider just hitting that button. It does a lot for the channel. Share a video of mine if you like, and turn on your notification bell to ring. So I did put a picture of, shall we say, Pity and Daisy in my thumbnail with JLo and Aaliyah. And I'm going to start calling them Pity and Daisy, if I can remember. Let me write that down. Pity and Daisy, because I really think that there's a lot of bots out there right now. Pity and Daisy. I'll put that in my title too. I'll change that, switch it up. So I was not able to go live yesterday because I had to take my little puppy dog to her cancer treatment, and that went well. So I'm happy to be on live today, even though I'm by myself, and you know how sad that makes me, but no, it's all right. It's cool. You know, I do this for my own benefit, really. I mean, I hope that it's beneficial to others, but I'm certainly not trying to play to anyone in particular. I'm just speaking for myself from the heart, and that's what's important to me. So anyone who's following the Pity and Daisy case knows that BJ investigates that surprise witness content creator. That's the name of her channel, That Surprise Witness. And also she goes by BJ Investigates. So she put out a short the night before last at 5:03, and that was December 18th, Wednesday. And she's just saying a little thing about how she thinks that maybe Pity's attorney might have made a little slip by putting a JLo mention in some new paperwork in a memorandum. And of course, there's people who are like, no, there's no mistake there. That was done very intentionally. Like Down the Rabbit Hole, that channel. She is friends with BJ, I guess. And she was playing it in her live. She was playing that little short. And as she was playing it, and she kept stopping it for commentary, it went down. So it got taken down. It got scrubbed. And thank goodness that she put it in her live, and a lot of other people have too. A lot of people have been looking at it, some accusing BJ of saying that JLo was there. All BJ was doing was asking if Pity's attorney might have made a mistake by accidentally revealing that it might have been her. Like she was asking questions. She wasn't making accusations. But my question is, my interest is always piqued by the things that get scrubbed. The fact that that got scrubbed well within 24 hours, like maybe within 18 hours, I'd have to sit down and do some math. That's all the information I need to know, in my opinion, that BJ hit a sore spot. It makes me think that it's very likely that it was actually JLo in the room, which makes a lot of sense. I'm not the only one who has speculated. That makes a lot of sense with the divorce that she had this last year with Ben Affleck. A lot of people are talking about that. So let me do my little disclaimer that everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, even with nobody. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. I hope that I'm educational for myself and for others. It's very therapeutic for me to be talking about this stuff. It has been overwhelming, the amount of spaghetti being thrown at the wall, I guess. Just the amount of chaos, the amount of gaslighting, all the back and forth, the tit for tat. Again, that's gaslighting techniques to distract from what's really important. And what's really important is that somebody was victimized, somebody had the strength and the wherewithal to speak out if this is indeed a valid victim that is speaking out against Diddy and Jay-Z. And I have to say, based on my experience and what I know, nobody's going to put themselves through that kind of public scrutiny. And the saddest part is that so many victims will never put themselves through any public scrutiny. They're not going to put themselves through the scrutiny with law enforcement or with medical staff. And this is why so many assaults of that intimate nature never get reported. And it's just heinous. It's absolutely devastating. This alleged assault that happened somewhere around the year 2000, and it's fine for people to not know the exact dates, actually. It's fine for them to say in the body of a lawsuit, on or about this date in on or about the year 2000. It was 24 years ago now. So when you take trauma, combine that with PTSD, combine that with autism, and combine that with a head injury that the victim, alleged victim, claims to have had, I think, before the incident. Some people have speculated, did that happen when she was thrown against the wall? Because in the complaint, she says that she was first thrown against the wall, she fell to the floor, and then she was picked up and thrown to the bed. And then that's when things happened, and the female watched. It's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. So I'm also not the only content creator to put out the idea that it is feasible that that spectator could have been Aaliyah based on the time frame and where she was that night. It was the year before she passed away. And I don't think that it was Aaliyah, but if it was, and then they were trying to silence her, because I do wonder about Aaliyah's passing away. I do wonder if that was a orchestrated event, if there were 8 other lives lost to make sure that her life was snuffed out so that she couldn't get her ex-husband in trouble. You know, she had had the marriage with R. Kelly annulled, and the passing away happened like 5 or 6 years later. But just like with all the speculation with Jay-Z, it's looking like, I mean, Daisy, it's looking like not only did he meet the Beehive Bay before she was 18, because they would swear up and down that they didn't meet until she was 18. They didn't start dating until a year and a half later. They were like BFFs. In between, they spoke on the phone all the time. Yeah, right. Okay. But there's a ton of pictures of them when she was 16. And she came into the music scene more like around the time she was 12 or 13. Trying to remember. Rihanna, I want to say, came into the music scene when she was about 11. I think a lot of these hot young R&B female musicians came into the scene well before they were 16. they started to get more noticed when they were 15 and 16, but they'd already been doing it for a while. So that makes it even creepier. I mean, Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, Nancy Kerrigan. What was the skier? No, the gymnastics Olympic star, Olga. I'll have to look it up. A lot of these women hooked up with their managers or their coaches when they were very young, like 10, 11, 12. What was that Olympic star in the 70s? Olympic gymnastics star. You know, the one we all wanted to be. Nadia Comaneci, is that it? I was thinking Olga, but no, I think it's Nadia Comaneci. Yeah, Nadia. She got together with her manager, I think when she was 12. Her manager and her husband, Bart Connor. Well, no, maybe this was a later event. Anyway, I don't want to be misquoting and making allegations. I should be looking this stuff up, right? So Nadia Comaneci, first husband. But yeah, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. It says Bella Caroli, coach of Olympic champion gymnasts who was criticized after the Nasser scandal, passed away at 82. This is just last month, November 16th of 2024. Interesting. Anyway, it's very sad to know that so many of these stars have, I think, been groomed by their managers who basically took care of them. So yeah, this one did work closely with Nadia Comaneci. She was 14 when Karolyi, Krolyi, coached her to win the gold for Romania in 1976 in the Montreal Olympics. So she was 14. Interesting, huh? Because I'm not 100% sure that he married her, but I thought that she had married her coach from when she was really young. Again, I'll look into that. It happens way too often. So the situation with Aaliyah, the situation with Beyonce, the situation with Rihanna and Jaguar Wright, and so many others. Hey, people, I see I've got 2 likes and 2 people here. If you can hear me and you want to type in a hello, then I'll know that you're here as I'm getting distracted by my Google. Okay. So Spiro and his clients, his client Daisy, will say, have been just slinging mud at the victim and at the victim's attorney, Busby. So, if Busby was doing the unethical things that he's being accused of, they would probably just report him to the bar and they wouldn't bother with all of this hoopla. My opinion is that it's all a bunch of hoopla, and it's doing its job of distracting us from the real issue and the real victims. So that's sad. It's sad that gaslighting is so effective, because if it wasn't so effective, maybe the gaslighters wouldn't be gaslighting, right? So Celebrity B that was present when Jitty and Daisy did their horrible alleged attack on this 13-year-old who people have been criticizing her because her father won't stand by her story. And even that whole thing with the artist that she said, Madden, who had like a tattoo of the Last Supper, and she says she spoke to him at the after party, just because that, Good Charlotte, that's the band that he plays for. Again, I should have already looked this up. I meant to. So they say that they were on tour. Good Charlotte says that they were on tour the night of the MTV Awards in the Midwest. That can be an hour plane flight away, and they still could have made it in time for an after party. So this is all just crazy. So Good Charlotte tour of September 7th, 2000. Let's just see where they were. And then JLo and Jitty and Daisy saying that they were at these other clubs. Who doesn't club hop, right? Come on. Anyone have a ticket stub from Eve 6 Good Charlotte concert at the Victoria? The Vic Theater in Chicago, September 7th, 2000. Yeah, that's crazy, because Chicago to Ohio is like a 1-hour flight. So Chicago to New York, I'm just going to look. How long would that take to fly? All right. 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm glad I looked it up, because I don't want to be misquoting saying that it would just be 1 hour. So Chicago flight to New York City, 2 hour and 15 minutes. But wait, no, here it says Chicago, Illinois to New York, 1 hour, 36 minutes. Okay. This is an average in-air flight time, 1 hour, 36 minutes. Yeah, that might have been something else. Oh, that was like to any airport in New York. Anyway, this is why you have to be so careful when you Google stuff, because it gives you all kinds of wrong information. Anyway, 90-minute flight. Maybe. And again, that's average. Some of these things say longer, say over 2 hours. But anyway, my point is that even if it's a 3-hour flight, you could still play a concert in Chicago and then fly to New York and then go to an after party for the MTV Music Video Awards. Because why wouldn't you? You're in the business, right? You're in the industry. That's just weird that they would try to pretend like, oh, they were on tour. They couldn't have possibly been there. It's like they're jet set. They fly places. Even if they took the bus, I mean, their own private bus. Come on. So let's talk about Sean Carter's son, Ramir Satterswaith, the man who is 31 years old, who has been trying to get Mr. Carter to admit for over a decade that he is his biological father. And Daisy, we'll call him, won't submit to a DNA test, Why won't he submit to a DNA test? We know that Ramir Satterthwaite's mother alleges that she was 16 years old when she had relations with Mr. Carter, and said that they used protection, but the protection failed and that she conceived this child. That at the time, her boyfriend put his name on the birth certificate, but then years down the road, they did a blood test and Ramir found out that that was not his actual father. And he just wants to know who his real father is. I mean, especially that he's married and has kids now too. And it's really important not just to know your bloodline for identity, but also for medical purposes, right? You want to know like who in your family has had cancer or diabetes or heart trouble, all that stuff. It's crucially important. So he's fighting it. Ramir is fighting it. And for anyone to go up against a billionaire, it's not only an uphill battle, but you're literally putting your life at risk, allegedly. These people have historically done things to intimidate and bully and maybe silence people. So Kim Porter is another one. I wanted to talk about narcissists and why they should not have children. Because as you guys know, my biological mother, my biological father were both narcissistic, extremely, and they both probably would meet the criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. It's not good to try to diagnose people in your own family, so I won't even continue down that path. I'll just say it the way I said it. And I often say that they're both the type of people that should never have had kids, but I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that I'm here, but they weren't so good at the parental skills. One of the classic mistakes that narcissists make with children is that they can't put their children before themselves, that it's always about them, that their children become pawns, basically, and that they really don't have the capacity to love and care about people outside of number one. It's all about me, right? So when you think about these billionaire rock stars like Jitty and Daisy and their children and the things that they've done allegedly to interfere with the health of people that their children would care about a great deal. I'm speaking directly right now about Kim Porter, who passed away suddenly. When was that? Was that like November 15th, 2018? I'm glad I wrote that down. Kim Porter passed away November 15th, 2018. So just 6 years ago. Allegedly, her phone and her laptop have never been recovered. She passed away in her home, unattended, and allegedly from complications with pneumonia. So she never saw a physician or was hospitalized for pneumonia, so it's odd. And there's also allegations that her casket was ordered, that there was a gold casket ordered for her 2 months before she suddenly, unexpectedly passed away. So that's very curious by itself. You could say, okay, well, somebody had a big wad of cash and they wanted to plan their own burial in advance, pay for it in advance. And so they were just going to buy this expensive casket and store it until it was needed. But you know what I'm getting at. That's really odd if that's true, that her casket was ordered 2 months before she all of a sudden drops to her ending of her life. So let's see. I've got so many notes here, but they're not very fluid. Like I said, it's been very overwhelming the last 48 hours since my last live, and I've missed it. I've missed it a lot. So I thought I'd come on anyway, and it looks like we have 3 people here. Please say hi if you can, just so I know you're here. I won't beg you to be in conversation with me. I'll try to figure out my notes here so I have my good ideas to share with you, because I do have some really good ideas. I think that's why I came on. I wouldn't come on if I didn't feel like I had some good ideas to share. I definitely thought I could have them a little bit more organized and all that, but then I thought, will I ever come on? Because it's already 3 in the afternoon, and yeah, I've been trying to come on for a while. So I was looking through a lot of my history on my electronic devices, a lot of my YouTube history, a lot of my history communicating with my content creator mentors. And I came across a lot of cases that I'd kind of forgotten about. Let's mention a few of them. So there was an Epstein affiliate, Jean-Luc Brunel. So he also passed away in jail. And there was also Malcolm X's daughter, who was found deceased a couple of days after her dad's wrongly convicted red rummers were, when their sentences were overturned. That was in November of 2021. Did you guys hear about that? Like, I remember hearing about it because, like I said, I was communicating with one of my mentors about it way before I had my channel, because I started my channel in the fall of 2022. So this is like an entire year before. And wrongfully convicted red rummers of Malcolm X, that their convictions were overturned on or around November of 2021. And then Malcolm X's daughter was found deceased a couple of days later. Not to mention the shooting of George Floyd's grandniece, who I believe was 4 years old. And it was New Year's, maybe of 2020. It took 4 hours for law enforcement to arrive. I think it was like a random drive-by in the house. And again, you know, I might have some of my facts off because I'm just looking back at all of these communications that I had, texts and emails, and I just kind of had my mind blown. So let's talk about a content creator who I've been enjoying a lot lately. I think I've probably linked him up the past week in some of my descriptions. Isaiah Robin. He did a video the day before yesterday where he talked about portals. And he specifically talked about the portal or portals that were on the stage of Astro World back in, I think that was 2022. Maybe it was 2021, because it was like the first concert after COVID. But let's be exact about that, because that's a big one. And I paid a lot of attention to that because it was really scary to me. Astro World incident was 2021, November 5th, 2021. So yeah, it was like the first big concert after COVID, which I think might have contributed to the intensity of the tragedy and the people there. I think it was like 50,000 people. It was poorly managed. It's a lot like the situation that Sean Combs organized in New York City in the early 90s before he got real famous, and 8 people were crushed to death at that event. It was like I think a hip hop and basketball event at a community college in New York City, and a lot of people were crushed. 8 of them perished. And then fast forward to 30 years later, And then you have this incident at Astroworld where 10 people passed away. So I think 8 passed away that day, and then 2 more passed away in the coming days. Hello, good afternoon, C3PO. Thank you so much for coming in and saying hello. Yeah, I'm having a bit of a challenge putting my words from my brain out my mouth to get them to you guys because, my little puppy dog has had 2 cancer surgeries, and now she's having radiation treatment to prevent the cancer from coming back again. So it's going to be like this for a while because the treatments are going to be for a few weeks. And plus we have the holidays coming. So I don't want to make any promises about how consistent that I can be with my lives, but I also, I want to keep doing them as consistently as I can. So we'll see how that goes. When I get so overwhelmed with so many cases and so much trauma, it helps me sort it out if I can keep a focus. So it's just really, really sad. The people that suffer these great tragedies that barely even get noticed. And there's so many of those, in true crime, there's cases that are focused on, like say the Delphi case, or cases, there's 2 there. But then there's that similar case in Iowa, in Evansdale, if I'm getting the name of it right, Evansdale, Iowa, that is from 5 or 10 years prior to Delphi, that's still freaking unsolved. Those 2 little cousins that hopped on their bikes. Like, why doesn't that case get the same attention that Delphi got? Why don't all abused children get the same attention that Madeline Soto's getting? Part of it, I think, is because of the type of cases and the type of information that we have access to on the internet, whether it's photographs or videos. The more of that we have, I think the more likely it is to get covered by these true crime content creators. But it's sad that some, like Kendrick Johnson, whose family has begged people to cover his case on social media, that they don't get covered so much. And Kendrick Johnson case, his case is a classic example that there is some good video footage. There's some good information. It's a really good case to cover and to fight for justice for him and for his family. It's an uphill battle, and they have come straight out and begged people to focus on their family's tragedy, and it hasn't gotten a lot of attention, which is very unfortunate. I try to bring it up as often as I can, and I'll put a link in the description here to the Christina Randall video that is how I got introduced to the case, because it is a fascinating case and it does need our attention, and we can help. Some of these families, like Kylie Rodney's a perfect example, whose families say, get a life, get a hobby, leave us alone, nothing to see over here, folks. We're going to do a secret cremation and go away. Screw y'all. And we're going to hire a PR expert. Okay. Yeah. And SF Investigates. We're going to keep him on the payroll for 2 years, and we're going to have Zanime come in, and we're going to have all this other crazy. So families like that say, please quit talking about our family on social media. It's like, well, why? Why do they not want people to remember their daughter, their beautiful daughter, Kylie? Why would they not want people to dig and speculate when the situation surrounding her passing is so suspicious? Like, there's just no way her car was driven into the water by her from the back hatch. And even if she wasn't in the back hatch, there's no way that car went into the water that way that night, period. I mean, I could say in my opinion, but I am convinced that scientifically, physiologically, it could not get across the mud and the gravel and do what they said it did. And it couldn't have been in that water for 2 weeks before they identified it in that water. I mean, it's insane that these professionals were saying, oh yeah, we are all so stupid and so blind. We were standing right there 50 feet away and we were looking high and low and everywhere except this whole part of the woods that we said, nobody go here. And we couldn't see it right there. It's like, no, it wasn't there, in my opinion, until they sent AWP on a wild goose chase to Boca, and then it was probably put in. And again, remember how perfectly lined up her personal effects and possessions were lined up in the car, upside down on the ground, on the bottom of the lake. Like, that was nuts. That was completely nuts. So freaking crazy. So going back to the Astro World, there's some really, really scary stuff about that night. The portals, Isaiah Robin and his video just 2 days ago, just 48 hours ago, about the portals at Astro World, and something I'd never seen, which is a portal at one of Beyonce's concerts that is just effing chilling to me. Absolutely chilling. To me, it's even darker than all the stuff with Astro World, and that's about as dark as it can get. But I'm just going to leave it to you to see that in the Isaiah Robin video, because I can't even talk about it. It just makes me so sick. But in that Astro World concert that night, there were so many people in the audience milling around with like henchmen execution types of coverings over their heads and faces. And I have some still shots of them, and they're absolutely creepy. And then there's the section where a lot of the people were crushed. There's a lot of these henchmen with these things over their faces and their heads, so you can't identify them at all. But some of them are spreading out a sheet, a white sheet that looks like it has black paint on it, you guys. And it took me a long time to be able to read what it said on this sheet that they were spreading out on the ground. And mind you, this is in an area where there's like no elbow room. So maybe this is part of what created the synergistic effects of people getting crushed, because they're trying to clear out this space. And the sheets say, or the one sheet says, open up the pits. And sure, they can be talking about the mosh pits, but are they talking about something else with the portals? I don't know. It's absolutely disgusting. It's insane. So yeah, the justice system. Oh, it's interesting too, because I wasn't even thinking. Busby represented a lot of the victims in Astroworld, and I've tried to look into it, but I haven't really gotten a good handle on it. I don't think it was the deceased victims that he represented. I think it was all the people that were there that were injured and traumatized that weren't the families of the deceased. But I know for a fact that Busby represented people going up against Travis Scott. And that guy had a lot of money, and, you know, the whole Kardashian connection, because it was Kylie. Was it Kendra or Kylie? I think it was Kylie that he is the baby daddy to. And, you know, the mother was there, Kris Jenner. And what was it? It was November 6th of 2021. Was it November 6th? I just looked it up. Yeah, I think it was, because there was the whole thing about that it was her 66th birthday, and it was November 6th. And, you know, when we have, okay, it was November 5th was when it happened, but probably things happened after midnight, right? And Yeah. Hundreds of others were injured at the concert in Houston, Texas, as the crowds surged towards the stage. Houston, please release report on Travis Scott's 2021 Astroworld concert. Oh, it was just horrific. Absolutely horrific. Oh, the other thing, I was so impressed, and I wanted to ask for your guys' help sleuthing the internet. Please. I'm so glad I thought of this. Here we are 40 minutes in, and this was like the most important thing to me, and I didn't write it down. In Isaiah Robbins' video from the day before yesterday, where he's talking about Astroworld, he's got a short clip of this young black kid sitting in his car, talking to his phone, like doing a selfie. I don't know if it was live or if he was taping it. I think it was live. But I found out later that that young kid is a rap star, and he was already getting famous at that point in time. And then he was interviewed like a day or two later by Rich Lux. You guys know how I'm a huge fan of Rich Lux. This is how I first came across Rich Lux, was him in plain clothes without all the crazy makeup, just interviewing this kid, like serious AF. And like they're sitting not like in a bar with alcohol, but kind of like a bar, maybe in a private home, you know, like with bar stools and a bar counter, like a high counter and high stools. And Rich Lux is interviewing this kid. And I think it was like a 20-minute interview. And it was so good, you guys. And I think it's been scrubbed. I cannot find it to save my life. But I also just want to know the name of the kid in Isaiah Robbins' video. So I will put a link to the video in the description here with a timestamp of where the kid is in the video. I might have it in my notes here in my phone. One second. I might and I might not. My phone has really been bugging out on me lately. I need to get a new one. Where did it go? Have you guys heard of MIA, the rapper? She's amazing. Okay, so here's the clip of the young rapper. It's in a video that's titled X Witch Speaks Up About Travis Scott. And I don't have the timestamp here, but I will put it in the description. Maybe I should just play it for you guys. If I can. Let's see. Like I said, my phone has been acting up. Disgusting.
Welcome back. We're just gonna jump straight into it. So you guys remember like 2 years ago, somewhere around there, we talked about the whole Astroworld Travis Scott concert, right? We went into depth with a lot of things on this concert. I showed you guys a video of dark spirits jumping on the crowd. I mean, you could visually see the dark spirits jumping on the crowd. It was that crazy.
This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
A lot of
craziest
people
thing
was
I've
just
ever
like,
seen.
you know, well, it just happened. You know, it was an accident. No. I want to show you guys a video today of an actual ex-witch saying that this was a whole ritual. An ex-witch, ladies and gentlemen. It's a different thing when people like us talk about it from the outer perspective, but and it could, you know, it's true when you go into depth and you search it out, but it's a different thing when somebody that's inside of that world that comes out of it.
I'm going to fast forward this. And to answer your question, Fred, no, I only just mentioned Kylie probably while you were here. But I want to get to the part with the kid. Okay, here we go. It's about
like in hell, bro. Like it felt like we was in a concert in hell. You couldn't breathe. You couldn't.
It's about 3.5 minutes in.
Like, just imagine all the people they're going to find tonight who was in that crowd, who nobody could see.
It's
who
really
could
dark.
Hear,
you can't see them.
Passed out, and everybody was just trampling on top of them the whole concert. Like, I'm thinking it's probably gonna be like at least 100 people who dead tonight. Like, I kid you not. Like, in the VIP section, there was so many bodies laid out. People was getting pulled out who was fainted, and people was trying to give them CPR, and they was flipping them over, and like they was literally turning them black and blue. Like I never seen death in my life, bro. Just by me alone, it was probably like 10 people laid out dead. And like once the medics tried to help them, they wasn't responding. They moved to the next person. Guys, here's the crazy thing, right? Because you hear the ex-witch say,
okay, so there's the portals
and just dance their life away, literally.
In the Travis Scott concert.
Dance their life away. Literally.
And then
in fact,
this
that's
is
woman's legs.
This is the portal.
As if it's her private part.
In Beyonce's concert.
I'm really trying to get y'all
to
see.
You can't see it because of the
I'm
glare.
Really trying to get y'all to see.
You don't want to see it. I mean, you can kind of see it right there. Ugh. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. So Fred, yeah, I just spoke about Kylie right there, right about when you were asking that question, probably. Hello. Is your phone an Android? It's an iPhone. I think it's like a 13 or something. I need to get it updated badly. Like, I'm sure I could get a free phone. I just never want to deal with it. You know how that goes. I was watching a historical crime drama 2 hours and missed the start here. Well, I apologize. My brain has not been functioning real well, though, Fred. So you might not even want to go back and watch it. I'm just being honest. So yesterday I took the dog to the veterinarian hospital at OSU. She's doing great, but she's getting her radiation treatment started. So it's a little rough, and it's rough with trying to do my YouTubins, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway. So yeah, that whole thing about the Astro World and Busby, and now Busby being involved, and then Travis Scott having portals at his concerts, and then Bey having portals at her concerts. And that one portal that you might have been able to see in my phone screen is just horrifying. It looks like it has train tracks going into the portal. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to leave it alone because I can't. I'm going to vomit. So the kids of the narcissists. So we've got this whole situation with Daisy and Pity and their kids. So Pity may or may not have done something or had something done to Kim Porter. Daisy may or may not have had something done to his previous mistress. They both don't really care about other people, in my opinion, and not even their kids, in my opinion. But also JLo. JLo has a couple of kids with Anthony, the Puerto Rican rock star that she was married to when she I think that was her second marriage. And you guys know his name, right? JLo's husband's. Mark Anthony. There we go. So her first husband was Chris Judd. I thought that was like her third husband. Yeah, that was her second husband. Mark Anthony was her third husband. So her first husband was 97 to 98, just 1 year. Chris Judd was 2 years. I think he was like a background dancer for her. Mark Anthony was 10 years, from 04 to 14. And then Ben Affleck was from 2022 to 2024. So before she married Mark Anthony, I think before she even married Chris Judd, was when she was together with Ben Affleck, and they did not get married. They were engaged. And then Ben Affleck married Jennifer Gardner, and they had 3 kids. So while he was married to JLo the last couple of years, there was a lot of strife with the custody of the kids. And just, JLo has this very high profile lifestyle where she wants to put herself out there in social media. And I think she was kind of doing that a little bit, or wanting to do that with Affleck's children. And the biological mother, Affleck's ex-wife, was like, no way, my kids aren't doing that at all. So it was a lot of strife behind the scenes with all of that. And now that Ben has divorced JLo, he ran back to Jennifer Gardner right away. They, I think, have been together pretty much ever since. And he seems really happy. He's with his kids. He's like living a low profile life and doing things like feeding the poor on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know if the kids were there, but I know Jennifer Gardner and Ben Affleck were helping serve food to needy people, which I just thought, my goodness, can you imagine his last ex-wife doing that? Like, I mean, when you do things for other people, you get so much out of it. And it's so sad, people that don't know that, and so they don't do it. And it's like, just step outside of yourself for a second. Just help someone else. I mean, that's like the greatest gift, I think, in being a mental health counselor, is just helping somebody else. You can do that just as a friend. Hopefully you do that as a YouTube content creator. You do that as a yoga teacher. You do that as any kind of medical professional or teacher or law enforcement or other types of rescue squad employment, like firefighter, EMT. Serving other people, like politicians are supposed to serve other people. Serving other people is like the work of God, really. I mean, that's what the Bible is all about. That's what I think the greatest joy in life is all about, is giving something of yourself to somebody else. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can just be your attention, just seeing somebody, just hearing somebody, actually listening to somebody. A lot of us are not that good at listening. When we're in a conversation, we're focused on what we're saying. We're not so focused on what the other person is saying. Try to be more focused on what other people are saying, and it helps you get outside of yourself. It's like, I like to say, an escape from your own problems, because that was, in my opinion, the greatest thing about doing psychotherapy. It was like a paid vacation from my own problems, just to get all caught up in someone else's problems, forget that I even have any of my own for that hour that they're paying for. Of course, I'm working out my own stuff too, but I'm trying to stay focused on them. As a professional, that's what you do. But also as a friend, that's what you do. So anyway, yeah. Where are you guys at? Hello, Annie in chat. Portals, WTF. I know Mark Anthony, Anna Bees knows who I'm talking about. Mark Anthony is kind of like the Mick Jagger of Puerto Rico, in my estimation, right? I mean, he was a huge rock star in Puerto Rico. Like, no, I don't think many of us knew who he was until JLo married him. And at first, in my view, he didn't seem like that big of a deal. But, as I got to know his persona better, I saw what made him a big deal, what still makes him a big deal. So yeah, they had twins, and they named their twins Emmy and Oscar, like Hollywood, right? And I'm serious. I think that the twins had like gold-plated cribs and stuff like that, just a ton of bling. I can't imagine raising babies like that, because really raising babies, there's a lot of poop. It's a poop fest, right? A lot of snot, a lot of urine. Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. So yeah, having all this like fancy bling and gold and like that's crazy. Like that is just crazy. Like sure, you're rich, we get it, but come on. I mean, I've been around a lot of rich people that don't do all of that with their kids, even if they are living really high on the hog. I mean, you got to think how these kids are going to understand the world and how they're going to interact with the world and other people. And that's just the craziest photographs that I've ever seen of a star's children's nurseries were JLo and Mark Anthony's. Absolutely insane. You guys probably have seen those photos, right? You can probably Google it. Listen a lot. Some of the stories out there, people that think that they are the only abused person, I find about 75% of women have been abused by age 40. Essay I'm talking about. Yeah, they used to say that what was it? Like that 2/3 of all women were violated by the time that they were 18. Is that right? It was really bad, the statistic. I can't remember exactly. And then the statistic for men used to be really low, but it was just being underreported. And allegedly, I don't know what Google A will tell you, but allegedly, men and women are victimized at the same rate as far as like pedos and child abuse, the SA child abuse. That it happens to men just as often as it happens to women, but men don't identify it. They don't disclose it. Probably, quite honestly, a lot of them probably are no more. Either they were silenced or they couldn't take it, right? I mean, there's a high propensity for self-injury with people who've been violated like that. And especially, like, we haven't really talked about it, like kind of the self-injury, like people that cut themselves. That's a big thing with trauma survivors, and especially the Titanic type of trauma survivors. So, so I was looking at some of the suspicion around Brittany Murphy's passing away, and I guess she had some ties with Diddy. I mean, Pity. Yeah, Pity. Ashton Kutcher, they weren't married, were they? No, they weren't. They were just like really good friends with benefits, I think, something like that. Anyway, so she married a guy that was her manager, but she was, probably 30-ish when she married her manager, who was maybe 15 years older than her. Then she passed away kind of unexpectedly. I think there was a lot of drug abuse going on. And then her husband passed away. Her widowed husband passed away almost a year to the day. They both were passed away in the house, the same house. And her mother had been living there with them, I think. And I want to say that they were allegedly home alone when they passed away, that it was like an unattended passing with both Brittany and with her widowed husband. But there's always been a lot of speculation and suspicion around that. And now, with all this stuff coming to light with Pity and Daisy and Ashton, Ashton Kutcher was one of who we thought was one of the good guys, right? Like he would fight for victims' rights in Washington, D.C. He would like go to these Senate hearings and speak up for trafficked kids. He quit Hollywood so he could do more of that. And then, he got all tangled up in the whole thing with Danny Masterson, who you don't hear anything about anymore because, he's white. I mean, it just seems like it's a lot easier for these stars who are white to kind of fall by the wayside. And then the ones who aren't white are the ones who get a lot of hyper focus and a lot of airtime and kind of get scapegoated by our culture. So, you know, like Epstein and Weinstein and Nasser, those guys are all white. And then, you know, with Pitty and Daisy and who else? We don't even want to name them, do we? I mean, we don't want to name people that we're not sure of. That's something that we all want to be careful of. Just because it's wrong, not even about like, you know, slander or, you know, legal issues. It's just wrong to put the words together that put people in a bad light. But that's exactly what these lawyers are doing with Jay-Z, with Diddy. There, I said their names the right way, and with Busby, and you know, they're just trying to slander Busby. So before I forget, let me tell you the most important thing about today's live is, I think what I started with is just the desperation. Yeah, I titled it like the smell of desperation, the stench of desperation. The fact that they're slandering Busby the way they are tells me that they have nothing, that they are without excuses, without stories, without any kind of defense. That, you know, that long post that Sean Carter put up, was that a week ago? Was it just this past weekend? That long post where he just went on and on about what a terrible cheap suit Busby was, right? What an ambulance chaser he was, and how he was going to out him. So if that was all true, he wouldn't be putting it on social media, you guys. He would just be doing it through the courts. He's way more concerned with the court of public opinion. And these extremely wealthy people have been able to basically control the media. You know, they've been shutting down people's channels and people's lives, and, you know, scrubbing the internet of things like that video that BJ Investigates put together on Wednesday night at 5:03. And I'll put that a link in my description to the Down the Rabbit Hole that had it in there, when she was literally it was literally getting scrubbed before she was done playing it, because she kept interrupting it with her commentary. But then Down the Rabbit Hole also has it in her next live. She played her own short. So there were a lot of content creators that played it over the next 12 hours. So good luck trying to scrub it, right? Good luck. I mean, these people that think that they can control the world, and what's sad is that largely they've been able to. They've been able to pay people off and silence people. But, you know, to quote Cat Williams, 2024 is going to be an end to all of that, right? Bill collectors must have trouble finding Granny Annie. Oh, because she's always in like Vegas or Cabo. Once you think you found her, she's gotten on a jet plane and gotten the heck out of Dodge. SA has no economic boundaries. Rich kids have more reasons to comply. Sad. You know, such a good point, Granny Annie. And when you say more reasons to comply, my first thought was for like inheritance. But not just inheritance, but you know, just having financial support from your parents when you're coming into adulthood and trying to get your own place, trying to get on your feet on the ground. And also in the situations that you've got parents that will call you crazy and have you put in a psych ward. You've got parents that will have you snuffed out just as quickly as they would have anyone else snuffed out. No one's going to rat them out. So, you know, when you bring that up right now, Granny Annie, it makes me think of the Menendez brothers right away. You know, that's always been a very controversial case, because they swore up and down that they were SA'd by their father and that their mom knew and didn't care. And I was one of the people that believed them the entire time. And, you know, if they were females, they would have gotten a much lighter sentence because of the laws that had changed, where abuse victims could call it self-defense, basically, even if they weren't in the process of being attacked when they made their attack. So, yeah, it was sad that they were, in my opinion, real victims, and they were laughed at. I mean, even Saturday Night Live, like, man, they mocked them so horribly in mocking their court testimony with tears and fake tears, and it was gross. It was gross. And then, you think about all the other victims in the world that are watching this happen on like SNL and just on the stage of the court of public opinion. And it just keeps more victims silent, you guys. Like, that's what's so important to me here, is that the situation with this woman who's 37 now, who claims these things happened to her when she was 13, and that Diddy and the twinning Shawns were the perpetrators, and that there was a famous celebrity watching. Like, those people need to be brought to justice, and this victim should be protected. She should be celebrated. Like, remember the William Kennedy trial with the victim that had the blue dot over her face? That was so stupid. I mean, it was sad that she had to have her face out there in public. It kind of made a mockery of it to have that blue dot in all the news footage that you saw. And then I'm sure SNL had a heyday with that too, right? I kind of remember that vaguely. But that was horrible. And she got hung out to dry, and he got cut loose. And that was before Michael Skakel ever got arrested for Martha Moxley's brutal homicide. If you don't know the story of Martha Moxley, maybe I'll give a quick synopsis of that before I wrap up, because I have studied that a lot. I studied it before it got, before Mark Furman studied it. So it was just an unsolved case for decades. It was, I think, 1975. Martha Moxley was a 15-year-old in Greenwich, Connecticut. Her family had moved into the house right next door to the Skakel boys. The Skakel boys were related to the Kennedys. Like, the dad's last name was Skakel. The mother's last name, Edith Skakel. What was her maiden name? Because I don't even think her maiden name was Kennedy. Like, her family was even more wealthy than the Kennedys. Let's see. But she had 7 sons, and she left her husband. I think it was 7. It was a bunch. She was a human rights activist. Wait. No, I'm getting my Kennedys confused. Maybe. Hold on. Michael Skakel's mother. Stop. Michael Skakel's mother. Let's see. He's been in and out of jail for Martha Moxley's homicide. Okay, so Michael Skakel. Michael Skakel's mother. His dad was Rush Skakel, and okay, so his mom is Ann Reynolds. Oh, this is confusing. Russ Skakel's sister was Ethel Kennedy. Okay, I'm glad I looked that up. Okay, so Rushton is the dad. Rush Skakel was the alcoholic father of the 7 boys, and Michael was the 5th one. Anne Reynolds was his mother, who had just had enough and left. And then the dad's sister is Ethel Kennedy, the widow of Robert Kennedy. Anyway, wait a second. It says here that Anne passed away from brain cancer. I thought she left. He says from the age of 8 to 12. I'll have to read up on this, that his mother was dying of brain cancer. And okay, she passed away in 73. Yeah. I thought she just took off. I thought she just couldn't take the alcoholic and the 7 unruly boys anymore. Anyway, so then you had the dad with the 7 unruly boys, and he had just hired somebody to, like a 23-year-old guy, to come in and kind of like be like, not a nanny, but kind of, just to help with the kids. And I think that young man in his 20s had only worked for them for a day or two when this horrific incident happened on Halloween, where Martha never came home. And then she was later found on the grass of her parents' property, bludgeoned, absolutely bludgeoned with a golf club, bludgeoned so badly that the golf club broke. But the golf club had the Skakel name on it, and it was from the set of golf clubs that was in their garage. It was the only one missing from the bag in the garage. So it took like 26 years or something like that for anyone to be held accountable. And then, like I said, it was Mark Furman who took his infamy from the O.J. Simpson case. He had already moved to Idaho to get away from Hollywood and get away from the whole thing with that horrible Simpsons case. And then he went to Greenwich, Connecticut, and just kept calling and kept showing up and kept trying to get records, kept making requests for interviews and public records. And he was constantly told that, people weren't in their offices. They were out to lunch. They were just, he was never able to track anybody down. And he finally just like sat in the waiting room of these people's offices until he came across them. He put a good case together. Michael Skakel got convicted, and then Skakel got it overturned, and then he got reconvicted, and then it got overturned again. My whole point was people with money that can get away with these things. And, where the crimes of violation and physical gratification come in to play in pretty much all of these stories, right? I mean, the Skakel brother, Michael, his semen was on the grass near Martha's remains. And I didn't say trigger warning, so trigger warning. His story, to explain that away, to mansplain that, was that he was a peeping Tom up in the tree watching her like earlier that night or the night before, and that he was self-pleasuring, and that's how his DNA and substance from his body got on the grass near her bludgeoned remains. Horrifying, absolutely horrifying. And so sad. I'm pretty sure at least one of her parents passed away before there was any justice at all. Because they were pretty old to begin with, if I'm remembering right. They were extremely wealthy. I think they'd just moved there from California the year before. And it was just her and her brother. I think she had like an older brother. It was just her mom and her dad and her and the brother, I think. Again, I'm not going to keep looking at my phone to verify these things. If I made mistakes, I'll put it in the description later on today. Let's see, where are we at? Anna Bees. I wish I didn't believe that stuff either. Anna B says, sorry, Jazz. I don't believe in Titanic cults and sacrifices. I think evil people do evil things. Well, I wish that I didn't believe in those things, and I didn't used to, but I know that those things are real, unfortunately. And yeah, Anna B's, if you haven't watched the Travis Scott performance, there's a channel called the T for NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. I think that's the name of the channel, the T for NPD. She did an amazing breakdown of the entire performance, and she says that she's got that in her past, is how she knows so much about it. Let me see what comes up when I do NPD. Yeah, it's called the T on NPD and relationships. So she just hit 102 subscribers. Good for her. So that was when I found her channel too, was with the aftermath of the Travis Scott tragedy. I'll put a link to that video in the description. And yeah, that other Isaiah, he says that the people that he features in his video are from that type of background too. So I've known people from that type of abuse, and you know the whole story about the sheriff in Thurston County in Washington State in the 80s. The whole sheriff's department went down because they were all part of that, and they had I think it was the sheriff whose 5-year-old daughter was lost in a poker match. And then she was in Western State Psychiatric Hospital for a long, long time. And then this whole case had just happened when I moved there in 1987. And then since then, it's been retracted because that's what happens with these cases. So the whole freaking Thurston County Sheriff's Department was part of it. Thurston County is where Olympia, Washington is, so the state capital. And that's where I had moved to in 87. And one of my friends from that volleyball team, the team with the Hawaiian women, one of my friends worked for the Attorney General's office. She was an Attorney General, and she told me all about it. So yeah, you can Google that. I'll put a link to that in the description too, because it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I'd already heard a lot about that before I moved there, but I didn't believe it. And then that, and then other stuff too. So yeah, it's very unfortunate, but yeah, super unfortunate. And Anna, honestly, I feel like it's a luxury to not believe in that stuff. So I envy you, my dear. I do believe that the people you talked about are messed up people, and some even evil, but money and rugs are intoxicating to people. Yeah, and I do think that there's people who say that they were ritualistically abused who maybe weren't, or that they were abused and it was ritualistic stuff, but that when you're an abuse victim, how do you separate the two, especially if it's happening when you're such a small child, right? Because it's just evil. It's absolutely evil. Not rich, but moms could care anything for their daughters are top of my list. LRN and Jen Soto. Fred, thank you for saying that. Yeah, Jen Soto, I've had to shy away from that case because it's just getting more and more disgusting. That poor little girl. Oh my goodness, what she went through. I honestly, I can't. I just can't. But I'm glad that people are looking very closely at the abuse that she suffered, that her mother and her mother's ex-boyfriend subjected her to. I hope that Jen gets held accountable too. And, I still pray for justice for Kylie. I really do. I think the cases are very similar, actually, in my opinion. I think the moms are very similar. The father figures might be similar. Drug abuse might be similar. Financial trouble might be similar. Not care, Fred says, yeah. Right. I put the not in there with when I read it. I knew what you meant. Not rich, but moms could not care anything for their daughters are top of my list. LRN and Jen Soto. And for people who don't know LRN, that's Kylie's mother, Kylie Rodney's mom. Anna B says, Fred, I'm still on the fence about Lindsay. I think they were threatened by the rich and powerful in that town. Well, honestly, as a parent, I don't even care if they were threatened by rich and powerful of that town. I mean, this is your baby. You fight to the death for your baby. Just saying, that's my humble opinion. And yeah, they have the half brother of Kylie that was 8 years younger that they need to protect. But if these people are getting away with that type of stuff, not saying anything isn't really protecting yourself or anyone else, because they're getting away with it and they can do whatever they want and get away with it. So, you got to choose your battles wisely, but if it involves the safety of your children, I would think that would be a hill that you might choose to take your last battle on, right? You could be right, Anna. I am on the fence with her, but lean negative. Yeah. I see where you're coming from, Fred. I'd say I am kind of there too, but I think I'm more than lean negative, like I just described. Like, I just think it's horrifying. Like, if something like that is happening to your kid or happened to your kid, you can't keep quiet about it. That's shameful. Skakel got away with it for a long time. Yeah, he did. And he's still gotten away with it. He's out. He's out. Just like Amanda Knox. Let's see. Terrible stuff. So his wife left him the first time that he got convicted. Wait a second. Now he filed a lawsuit earlier this year after the second conviction got overturned. He's suing, this is January 3rd, 2024, suing the lead police investigator in the case, Frank Garr, as well as the town of Greenwich for alleged malicious prosecution. What a freaking a-hole. Absolutely disgusting. A state prosecutor announced in 2020 that Skakel would not be put on trial again and that the charge was dropped. See? I mean, and it was Edith Kennedy. What was Edith Kennedy's there was deeper pockets than the Kennedys in that family. I don't know if that was from Edith's side or from the Skakel side. Her dad, George Skakel, was a coal magnate. So maybe it was the Skakels that had more money than the Kennedys, right? Okay. See, I was always so confused about that. And she only passed away. Edith Skakel Kennedy passed away 2 months ago, October 10th of 2024. She was 96 years old. Social activist and matriarch of the Robert F. Kennedy clan. Wow. Wild. Okay. So she had a stroke on October 9th this past year, and then she passed away the next day. Yeah. And then the current RFK Jr., what's up with his whole appointment in the cabinet? So he's the third of 11 children of the senator and U.S. Attorney General Robert Kennedy and Ethel Skakel. Okay, so it was his mother that just passed away. Fascinating, isn't it? Oh man, that's crazy. That is wild. So just a month before the election. And he was running, and then he bowed out of the running and got behind the Republican ticket, because wasn't he running as an independent or something like that, I think? Let's see. Supposedly Adam Walsh's dad lost him to gambling. John Walsh from America's Most Wanted, I know there's a lot of speculation about what happened to his kid, Adam Walsh. I've never seen anything to lend itself to that being valid. I think that there's a lot of mudslinging going on there, possibly. I hope that Jen is held accountable too. Yeah, don't we all? Jazz, I agree that I would never stop fighting, and yes, they could be protecting the younger son. Yeah. Need more courts, Fredfield. To take 2 to 3 years to go to trial is crazy. Soto case scheduled for December of 2025 and still waiting for Idaho 2 years later. Yeah, the Idaho case is a hot mess, isn't it? I still think that the whole thing is not above boards. I don't think one person did it, and I don't think that the person that they have in their custody did it. I think that there's all kinds of effery going on there. All kinds of effery. I just don't even know where to begin with that case. It's so sad. It's just tragic. I know I almost said Maddie Soto. Maddie, the other one, how come I can't think right now? Because it's the end of the hour. Oh, it's 90 minutes. My brain is like fried. So Kaylee G. Maddie Morgan, is that her name? No. Morgan is what the cop was calling her when he wanted to talk to her. The lead cop, that jerk, whatever his name was. I can't remember any of these people's names right now. But yeah, how come I can't find her name? Crazy. Mogan, Maddie Mogan. Okay, Madison Mogan. And then Kyle is the brother. Brett Payne. Brett Payne was the one who was like calling her Madison. Like, is Madison home? I talked to Madison. I like Madison. I'd like to see Madison tonight when he's shining his flashlight in Xana's eyes. And I've said this before in one of my lives, or Xana's like, I don't have a Madison. Wait. No, Morgan. I don't have a Morgan. Right? Because it is Madison. It's Madison Mogan. And she's like, I don't have a Morgan. When Brett Payne is like, "Where's Morgan? Where's Morgan?" And it is confusing, Maddie Mogan, but then she figures it out as wasted as she is. She's like, "Oh, you mean Maddie, my friend Maddie." And yeah, how many times those police were at that residence just in the short time that the four or the five roommates that were there lived there, because it was only the five of them for like a year, right? Kaylee hadn't been there that long. I don't even think Kaylee had been there for a year. Didn't she move in the spring? Anyway, the police were there a lot. I mean, we've all seen multiple body cams of them showing up for alleged noise complaints. And then that one during the day where, I'm sorry, you're not going to have a noise complaint during the day in a college town on a Saturday, like, while the sun's still up. And then, they admitted that they didn't have any noise complaint. They admitted it to themselves, to each other at least, on the walk from the from Jack D's house, where there was maybe a noise complaint. But then they were like, "Oh, let's just go see the pretty girls." And then the sergeant, he said, "Oh, you can do that another time." All right. Sorry, I'm so fuzzy, you guys. The good news is that my dog is okay. She's doing really well. So, and let's see. Skakel got away with it for a long time. I hope he doesn't win money from Connecticut and against the police chief of the time. That's crazy. Suing Greenwich. He's got some nerve. I mean, if you know the story of Martha Moxley, he obviously did it, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. And yeah, so the Idaho 4, I don't think it'll ever go to trial. I don't. I mean, what about Diddy? Is he ever going to go to trial? Or is he going to get Epsteined? Is Koberger going to get Epsteined? Fred, I totally agree about the courts taking so long to go to trial. It is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. That wannabe Santa Claus sheriff is sus. The wannabe Santa Claus sheriff in Idaho 4, he did not win the sheriff election. James Fry, I just looked that up like a month ago, because obviously the election just happened a month and a half ago. And it was close, but he didn't win. So he resigned from being the police chief midstream during like a monumental, like, crime of the century. That's suspicious right there. I want to say he resigned after 29 years, but I don't know if that's accurate. Because he wasn't in that Moscow PD for that long. He was sworn in as police chief in 2016, I think. And then his wife was sworn in as the treasurer for the city of Moscow in 2018. I used to have it flipped around. But yeah, James Fry was appointed to be the police chief in 2016. He had worked there for a while already. I think he probably worked for another police department, because both him and his wife, Julie, they both went to school at the University of Idaho there in Moscow. And then that election, that year of 2022, Julie was elected to be the clerk of courts like 4 or 5 days before the crime of the century. So you had the person in charge of the city's finances and the police chief married, and then she gets elected to be in charge of the city's legal records, like all of them. That's sus right there. And then the whole thing with Kathy Mabbitt, and yeah, Brett Payne, and the sergeant that took 4 hours for them to get there. That sergeant was the same one that worked with Kaylee a year prior when she thought she saw the missing woman at Walmart. Let's see. I can never remember that sergeant's last name. It's an easy name. You guys help me out here. You know who I'm talking about. That arrived. Let's see. Oh, this is funny. It says Moscow rhymes with Costco. Well, then it's not Moscow, but I've heard from people that live there, they call it Moscow. Okay. Who was that? The other guy who's on the paperwork, the other guy who allegedly didn't see the knife sheath or did see the knife sheath, can't make up his mind whether he saw it or not. That sergeant. Come on, people. Blakey, Bleeker, something like that. Yeah, thank you. Sergeant. I think it is Blaker. Is it Blaker? But it took both him and Brett Payne 4 hours to get there. Yeah, Blaker, Sergeant Blaker, Dustin Blaker. And he's now the captain. He's not the sergeant anymore. He's now Captain Blaker. See, that's what's really creepy is these people that get promoted. Moscow's finest, Moscow. So Dustin Blaker was the one who worked with Kaylee G when she thought she saw the missing 60-year-old woman at Walmart the year before. He's also the one who's walking up to the house on that Saturday in broad daylight with Rosenthal or Rosendale, or the one that we like to call Rosie, right? Annie. So Dustin Blaker is the one that says, "Oh, no stairs to the balcony." And such a whack thing to say. Why are you taking note of that? And why are you saying it out loud? But, for that, we can thank him that we see that on the body cam. Because to me, that's all evidence of some crazy. I'll just leave it at that. I'll get ready to sign off here. Let's see. Yeah, it is terrible when these cases get dragged out for so long. The wannabe Santa Claus sheriff is sus AF. And thank you for saying that, Annabise, so I could remind you guys, or let you know if you didn't know, that he was not elected sheriff. So what, is he now unemployed? What kind of work is he doing? Who knows? Maybe he doesn't need to work. Maybe he has so much money. Sheriff Fry. Yeah, he did not become sheriff. A different guy became sheriff. Let's see. Let's just Google, what county are they in? Latah County. Latah County Sheriff. And how come it's not? Latah County Sheriff's name, it says here, is Richie Skiles, Skiles. He served as the police chief in Troy from 2013 to 2016. But is he the one who won over Fry? So, yeah, there were 3 candidates. It was James Fry, Richie Skiles, and Christopher somebody. Middleton. So between the 3, okay, you can't say between the 3. Between means 2. You'd say among the 3. Not even like a grammar cop, right? But I know you can't say between the 3. Between indicates 2. Please. Between the 3, they represent nearly 80 years in law enforcement and public service. All are passionate about making a difference in their community. The first candidate to appear on the ballot is James Fry, whose law enforcement experiences range from statewide to the national level. In his 29-year career, oh, I'm so glad I dug that up. Why in the world do you retire after 29 years and not 30? In his 29, well, because he wanted to run for sheriff, but I think there's more to it. I think he wanted out of there. I think he would have seen this case to the end if it was a solid, above the boards, good case. But he wanted to hightail it and let some other fool pick up the pieces. In his 29-year career, Fry held every position in the police department except motorcycle officer and narcotics officer. This includes 8 years of serving as Moscow's chief of police. During his time in that role, he led Moscow through the nationally publicized University of Idaho Red Rums of 2022. His record also includes serving on many boards, including the vice chair of the Troy School Board, Idaho School Safety and Security Board, and the governor's opioid advisory board, amongst others. In 2019, he was also a part of the FBI National Academy, a program that only accepts the top 1% of law enforcement officers in the nation. Ooh. I got to say that everybody that I looked at in Moscow had direct ties to Washington, D.C. when I was researching the Idaho 4. Direct ties. Like huge, huge connections. The reason behind Fry choosing to run for Latah County Sheriff, the reasons are both because he had been requested by several people to do so, and because he has been seeing reoccurring issues within the county that he wishes to address. I've been hearing about the jail for a couple years, and I was actually asked by a couple of people at Latah County to run for sheriff, Fry said, speaking on one of the issues he finds most prominent. I think he should have ran for U-Haul truck driver. Oh, wait, he won that, didn't he? He was given that. He didn't even need to run. He just was handed it on a silver platter. He followed it up with a comment about how acquiring rug dogs would be a priority of his as well. Another issue he feels that has not been handled properly. So the trafficking in this area is so huge, you guys. It's not just the rugs, it's the people too. Trafficking is huge. And he's like, oh yeah, we need some rug dogs. It's like, you mean you don't have them? I think Latah County needs a rug dog, and there has not been a rug dog for many years. Like, oh, that's interesting, because you don't want to sniff out the rugs. There has been no attempt or no work at trying to get a rug dog. Oh, very good information, huh, people? Something Fry hopes people note about his campaign is his unique experiences and leadership abilities that set him apart, such as his U-Haul truck driving and suitcase carrying for you know, the Idaho 4 people, like emptying out their residence with his own hands, really? Why was Kaylee G's Range Rover taken by the family attorney before there was even an arrest in the Idaho 4, you guys? I think I saw a video yesterday about her Range Rover. Shannon, what's that attorney's name? The family attorney for the G family, that he got the keys to her Range Rover on the 23rd of December or something like that. And the arrest didn't happen until like the 30th. Okay, I'm going to finish reading this. I bring a very unique set of experiences to this election. I've had 29 years of law enforcement. I've held every position in the police department, he said. What that brings is strong leadership in how to run an organization. Because it seemed to me that Coomer Scott Green was the one who led the organization. It seemed to me that Fry was, his biatch. A particular goal he has in running is to focus not only on the matter of the jail and rug dogs, but on additional SRO officers investing in the training of forensic scientists. Yeah, you mean like what Koberger might have been doing? The first goal we have to work towards is to figure out what's going on with the jail. Yeah, you should know what's going on with the jail. That's a good idea. Like, they don't know what's going on with the jail. The county has had $8 million in Arbor funds that they could have fixed some of these problems with, Fry said. There was no visionary. There was no leadership that led to give the commissioners the information that this stuff needed to be fixed. So where did the millions of dollars go? The $8 million, which is nothing compared to President Coomer Scott Green's $4 billion, right? That's just a measly $8 million. President Green turned his $3 billion fortune into a $4 billion fortune in his first 4 years of being the president there. And his daddy owned that house, 1122 King Road. Oh, these people have to stop. Okay. There was no leadership that led to give the commissioners the information that this stuff needed to be fixed. Yeah, I'm sure it's nobody's fault. It's because there was nobody there to do it. Okay. Yeah. Among the points he's passionate about, he also mentioned that his love for the community is driving him in this race. I don't want to be done with law enforcement yet, Fry said. I have a passion for law enforcement and I have a passion for people, and we need to work on the community policing philosophy out in the county where deputies are getting out and we're building relationships within those communities. Yeah. He just grosses me out, and just thinking about him, if that is him, the man without the face in that screenshot of Kaylee and Maddie and Jack D and Jack S and Adam all in the back of the corner club, not even 2 hours before the 4 people were slaughtered. And then when that picture was released, like December 27th or 28th, and there was, very few content creators that had that photo. And one of the content creators that had that photo on day one, it made me so curious. Let me see. Okay, I've got to get it together. Where's my other notepad? I have another notepad here, you guys. Okay, so Naomi Campbell could be another candidate for being the famous female in the room with Pity and Daisy that watched. I just wanted to say that it might not be JLo, and it might not be Aaliyah, and it might not be Beyonce. It's might not be any of the four of those that I just named, but those are all, I think, the most probable. But the Lotus and Twirl were the bars, the clubs that they said that they all went to after the award ceremony at Radio City Music Hall, I think it was Radio City Music Hall. Madison Square Garden, I think Radio City Music Hall. Anyway, so they went to the Lotus and the Twirl. So they couldn't have been at another after party because they already went to the Lotus and the Twirl. So Diddy and JLo were hanging out at both clubs, and then Jay-Z showed up at the Lotus, at least that we know of. And then this alleged severe misconduct of Busby, like I said, if it was true and accurate, they wouldn't be plastering it on social media. They would just be reporting him to the bar. So it's bogus, in my opinion. It's absolutely bogus. But yeah, because of the scrubbing of that BJ Investigates short, it makes me think that it's like a 90% probability that it's JLo. Because why would they care so much about that? So the one channel that started their channel with that screenshot, I'll put the name of it in the description with a link to that very first video of theirs. Because I had called them out about that, and then they stopped making videos for like a year, and then they started making them again. And I don't feel bad for calling them out about that if there is as weird of a situation there as I think there might be, because they had way too much insider information. This one YouTube channel, I was like, the only people that would know the things that this content creator is putting out there are the people who are actually there in the house, either committing the crime or solving the crime, or both. I'm just going to leave it right there because here we are, almost 2 hours, and I will get caught up and then sign off. Yeah, that wannabe Santa comment really got me going. Hannah Bees, thank you. I think Idaho 4 is rugs related, and frats may be involved. Frats and rugs, frats sell rugs. That's how they maintain their expensive brick and mortar establishments. It's always been that way, in my knowledge. I really only watched that case a few months. Hot mess like Kylie's. Right. And I think it was designed to distract us from Kylie's, possibly like a psyops. I don't know. And Anna says, I agree, Fred. And let's see, Granny Annie says a rug dog would put a damper on their income, in my opinion. Well, and then when you've got Julie Fry being in charge of the finances for those 4 years from 2018 until 2022, city management folks have a lot of access to a lot of accounts, and then they can like borrow money and move money around without anybody noticing, and they can launder money and put money back before anyone's the wiser, in my humble opinion. What organization is he talking about? Fry? I think he was talking about the Moscow PD. Yep, that was him in the corner club. Anna Bees, I'm glad you think so too. I think a lot of people think that was him. A lot of people go, oh no, that's the bar owner. And it's like, I've looked down that Avenue so many times, and I think the bar owner's name is Mark, and he does not look like James Fry at all. He's a much bigger guy. He's a much younger guy. I'll just say it. He's a much hotter guy. That's not him in the back of the corner club. That might be him in another 20 years when he starts shrinking and getting old. But no, I mean, Mark is maybe like 50, I think. And I mean, Fry is probably only 60, but still, I mean, he's just like a little old guy, right? Sorry, not sorry. I mean, I'm right in that range too, so I'm calling myself old, so that's all right. Let's see. Anna, so many try to say it wasn't Fry, just collecting his protection cash, probably. I am so glad I got to your comment, Annie. That's hilarious. Yeah. And why is that thing on his face? Like there's like a piece of tape or something. Like you can't see that man's facial features to save your life. I was hinting about the Rugs organization. Oh, thank you. That's hilarious. Okay. All right. I better sign off. Enough of my confused brain. I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button. And yeah, check out the Astro World crap. Check out the Portal crap. I'll put the links to some of those really good channels like the T on NPD and what's his name? Alaya. I wrote down his name because I keep looking at his videos. He's really good. I really like him a lot. So the surprise witness, it was Spiro who unredacted the part with JLo. So like, yeah, like, you know, surprise witness was saying like he might have done that accidentally. Like her whole clip was basically like, oh, Spiro might be taking on too many clients because he got confused and accidentally revealed JLo's name in the paperwork. And when Down the Rabbit Hole was covering it, she was like, no, I don't think that was an accident at all. And I would agree with her that that would have been intentional. Oh, True Crime Time is the one who, the very first video. Like something's up with that channel. Something is up with that channel. I got very, very spooked and I just quit watching them. And then when I finally addressed it in one of my videos, it was shortly after that they just stopped. I'm telling you, they knew way too much inside information. Personally, I thought it was the lead detective. Personally, that was my opinion. I thought he was the content creator of that. And maybe that was part of his job, you know? I mean, if it was him or somebody like him that worked for the Moscow PD, I would think they wouldn't be doing that unless it was part of their job, unless they were told to do that, is my opinion. So, yeah. I want to say this as I wrap up. This is really important to me. The trauma of listening to all of the content creators, self-included, talking about this poor 13-year-old that may have been assaulted by Diddy and Daisy. It's so traumatic hearing about it constantly. And it desensitizes all of us to this type of thing. And that is bothering me a lot. I'm really glad I saw that note and could say that right here at the end of the video. Isaiah Robin is the one who did the Astro World and the portals. Okay, you guys. I better just wrap it up. Yep, I'm wrapping it. Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Today's the 20th. Can you believe it's 4 days until Christmas Eve? That's crazy. This is our last weekend to prepare. I love Christmas, but as a mother, as a parent, I always get really stressed out. So I'll be hopefully doing lives throughout the season because you guys ground me. You keep it real. You keep me on my toes. So thanks a million. And thank you, Annabes. You are so great to chat with. Ow, you are. So thanks for coming in, people. Love and light. And then the Bear Pantry is a new channel that I tried to introduce you guys to in the last few videos. I put a link in the description, and I'll do that again. She just seems really cool. I really like her. The Bear Pantry, the name of her channel is because it was a cooking channel, I think, to begin with, but it's more like a lifestyle channel. And I think she was doing some videos about Hannah, was how I found out about her. And man, that whole Hannah thing, what a mess. We'll talk more about that maybe in the next one. All right. Love and light, you guys. Take really good care of yourselves. Get your exercise and your veggies and protein. And just be yourself. More important than anything, just be. And hope you have a good weekend.